So, good morning, guys. As I said, only three people are joined. But anyway, we will not wait anymore because already we waited. So today is the day when we are going to start last unit, unit number 6. There are 6 lectures dedicated to this unit. Okay. So let me just share my screen quickly. First, before that, I need to open the document. Okay. So okay, so I have shared my screen with you. That is unit number 6. So as I said, unit number 6, mechanical springs. This is a unit having 6, we have 6 lectures dedicated to this. And maybe, by the end of this month, we will be completing this unit as well as completing the syllabus. Okay. So, it's a quite simple unit, and you can score good marks in the mechanical springs unit. Okay, and since the syllabus is also not vast, so it's good. If you dedicate some time to this unit, you can get good marks. Okay. So unit number 6, mechanical springs. Today we will talk about the what are springs, what are different types of springs, applications of springs, and if possible, nomenclature we'll try to see. So then once we know the nomenclature, we can talk about the design part. Okay. Am I audible to you guys? Kunal and Prasad, I think someone just got disconnected. Nikita, I think got disconnected. So anyway, so, okay, Kunal is saying I am audible, so I will just proceed with the introduction of the springs. Now, springs, this is a element, a mechanical element which we use, I think, almost everywhere. We use it from the watches to the hinges and everywhere. The application of the spring is almost everywhere, and it is not necessarily we see all this always this coil type of spring. Spring can be of any type. The definition of the spring is that when we apply some force to it, it changes its shape, and when we remove the force, it go back to its original position. So for that, it is not necessary that it is always coiled and all like that. Okay, it can be of any shape. It can be of any type, like say a leaf spring of a truck, right? It is not like this. See, okay, who is this? Jesh, you can you mute yourself? I will mute you. Okay. Jesh Khojre. Okay. Uh, okay. As I was saying, the types of springs are it's not necessarily it is always coiled. Okay. It can be of any like this spiral spring. It is not like coil like this, but it is spiral spring. It is used in watches, right? Or if you know a toy, when we store the energy by the key, or a toy like with the key with had, if we rotate it, it will have energy stored, and when we take out the key, it will start moving. It will start to release the energy stored in the spring, right? So basically, a spring takes the energy, right? And when we release the load, it will go back to its original position by releasing the energy, right? So basically, it stores the energy in form of tension, compression, or bending or whatever it is. So there are many types of spring, and all those springs, may have different kinds of shapes also, right? So let's see, what is the definition. So spring is defined as elastic element. So this has to be elastic. Elastic means it will go back to its original position or original shape when the load or stress is removed, right? Which deflects under the action of load and returns to its original shape when the load is removed, right? So when we apply load, so it will either undergo tension, compression, it undergo might bending, right? So different types of spring goes on our different types of kind of change in the shape and different kinds of tensions, and uh, they will go back to its original position once the load is removed. That's why there has to be elastic element, right? So there are different types of shape. I have taken an example. Like there is a tension spring. If you see, you have spring. You have seen these springs in many places, right? So like the tension spring, you must have seen. Can anyone tell me where they have seen the tension spring? Can you guys in a chat put where you guys have seen the? Give me example of tension spring, where you have seen the compression spring, where you have seen torsion spring and spiral spring. I have shown here four types of spring. Can you give me just examples in a chat, right? Where you have seen this tension spring, application of a tension spring? Can anybody tell me the application of tension spring, compression spring, torsion spring, and spiral spring? Where you have seen it, tension spring? You guys are there, na? Who is there? Kunal, Jayesh, Nikita, Prasad, and Ruturaj. You can talk also if you want. That's also okay. Jayesh, you unmute.
Sir,
Yeah.
tension spring in bike stand.
Bike stand, absolutely right. So when you move the stand by 90 degrees, that basically you are putting a tension in the spring, and because of that, even though you touch it after when you want to take out the stand, if you touch it, because of the tension in the spring, it goes back to its original position. So absolutely right. Where else? Any other examples?
Sir, in weighing machines, in old weighing machines.
Absolutely right. Weighing machines in all types of weighing machines, they have used this spring, and depending on the deflection, because it is fixed, right? It is we'll talk about it. What something called a stiffness. So load upon deflection. So if we know the deflection, we can know about the load, or we if we know the load, we can know about the deflection, right? So if the load is proportional to the deflection. If the stiffness is for a spring is constant, until unless it is in elastic mode, the stiffness remains same, right? So for that, since load is proportional to the deflection, right? So that means if we know the deflection of the spring by how much it has deflected, we can calibrate the load, or if we know the load, we can calibrate deflection. So that principle is used in a weighing machine. By understanding the deflection, by knowing the deflection, we can know the load on the spring, right? So that is also a good example of the tension. Compression spring, any application, you guys use it every day. This compression spring, you use it every day in your hand, something which is application of compression spring. What is that? What you guys use every day, by using every day, almost you use it by in your hand, compress, and that application of compression spring is there.
Bike brake, brakes of
uh,
bikes, sir.
बाईकचा ब्रेक, ओके फाईन. त्याच्यापेक्षा साधं सोपं एक्झाम्पल आहे, मी बोलतो, आपण त्याला बोलताना स्प्रिंग म्हणतो. इलेक्ट्रिकल स्विचेस, ॲब्सोल्युटली राईट. So that there is a force, when we put it back, with the force it will go back to, like say a spring is used in the ring button, right? When somebody is coming at your door, they'll ring the bell, right? So that time that button is like that. If you click it, it will go back to its original position. So spring is applied, application is there. So that is true. Like
Sir, this type of spring also used in a pen, sir.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about. Like pen, this spring you must have seen it, right? The khatkacha pen म्हणतात त्याला, right? So there is this spring is
Yes, sir.
used. By applying the force, you are pushing it and locking the refill downwards, right? But when you again click the button, it will go back to its original position, that is off position, by then, because the force is stored in the compression spring, right? Torsion spring, where you have seen the torsion spring, like the third one, the where you are seeing it, like the different kinds of springs have different applications, I heard, and they have different types of stresses in that. We'll talk about it. What are different stresses? So torsion spring is used आपल्या कपडे वाळत घालायचे जे खटके असतात ना, क्लिप्स बोलतात त्याला, राईट. सो यू मस्ट हॅव सीन इन दोज क्लिप्स. और उंदीर पकडायचं, लाईक टू कॅट अ माऊ कॅच अ रॅट और माउस, that mechanism. I think I have a diagram of that also somewhere. Like here this spring is used, right? So it is used clip. Okay, आपल्या याच्यात कुठली स्प्रिंग असते स्टेपलर मध्ये? स्टेपलर also has which spring is there in the stapler? Stapler is, if you open the stapler, there is a tension spring. When you open it, the pins are, they are resting against this, the front side by using the tension spring, right? Torsion spring is used in those hooks, and spiral spring is used in, toys to store the energy, or watches. So like this, there are many applications of the spring. We have seen a very few springs. So we'll talk about those types of springs, and how those are different from each other. So depending on the shape of the spring, the springs are classified, right? So they are, as we quickly talked about it. Helical spring means they have a coiled, the wire is coiled in the case of helical spring. That's why the shape is helical. That's why they are called the helical spring. But there are two types. So either you can put a tensile load on the spring, or you can have a compressive load on the spring. Like, so compressive, when the load is compressive, that means you are trying to put the coils close to each other, and because of that, the energy is stored in the spring, and when you remove the load, again the coils will try to come back to its original position, that is, they will pull away from each other, and you will have the whatever expected result from the spring. So like your suspension of the bike, they have this compressive spring, right, or the cycle. And the tensile is opposite. Like here we are trying to pull the coils of the springs away from each other, and because of that the energy is stored in the coils, right? So when you remove the load, it will again try to go back to the original position, and that way the spring action happens. So there are two types of helical spring: compression and tensile spring, right? It is shown here. Compressive springs will take the load in compressive mode, and tensile will take the load in tensile mode, right? So in the compression spring, the length will obviously reduce, and in tensile spring, the length will increase, right? So that is where the tensile and the compressive springs will work. Now, can anybody tell me what kind of load or the stress will be in the spring? That is the important thing which we need to learn, because the springs are kind of elements where the stress is not it is not easily understandable, right? Like, say if you assume the compressive spring or the tensile spring, you will assume that the stress in the spring is compressive or tensile, but that is not the case. The stress in that compressive or the helical spring is not tensile or compressive, right? It is in fact torsional stress is developed. Now, how to imagine that, right? So, you guys are following me. Like, what I'm trying to say is that in tensile, like, say if you take these examples of this four spring, na, each of them will have a different kind of stress. Like torsion, you will assume that it has a torsional stress, but no, it has bending stresses, right? So why is that, and how we need to understand that? Now we are we are talking about in helical springs. If we we have a load of tensile or compressive load, right? But the stresses in the coil is not tensile or compressive, they are torsional stresses. Can anybody tell you, can you just try to think like why is that is the case? Just imagine the load acting on the spring, right? When the load is acting on the spring, your spring, it is not getting compressed. If you take the axial, right, try to consider the whole coil. The coil is not getting reduced in the length or increase in the length, right? So like if we have a coil, a straight coil, not like this, if we have a wire, right? If we are trying to put a compressive or tensile load on that, it will have a tensile or compressive stress in it, right? But since this is a coiled wire, here that we are not having axial load of tensile or compressive, but the end is twisting, right? So where the P is shown in the diagram, here you will, with the load, it will try to twist it, and because of that there will be a torsional stress in the coil. Same thing is true with the tensile. When you are trying to pull it, you are trying to twist it. So because of the tensile or compressive load, the coil will be twisting or untwisting, and that means it will have a torsional stress in it. Are you getting my point? You guys are following me? What I'm trying to say? This is the only important thing which you need to understand, that this stresses in helical springs are torsional stresses. Okay, and we'll talk about the torsion spring. The stress is different there. Okay, so basically in the helical spring, the stresses are not kind of tensile or compressive, but they are torsional stresses, right? So as I said, torsion shear stress will be there because of torsion. It will try to shear and it will try to break, and that stress is called torsional shear stress, and that we have to calculate those stresses. So while designing the helical spring, we will not be calculating this primary normal stresses, but the torsional shear stress, right? So now there are two types of helical spring: closed coil and open coil. Closed coil, that means this angle at which this coil is with the this axis. This angle is very small. It is almost perpendicular or the flat. So if that is the case, then those kind of springs are called as closed coil helical spring. And if it is the angle is more than 10 degrees, it is called as open coil helical spring. Just remember those things. Okay. So now, why the helical? Now, if you in the practical or real life, helical springs are the most used springs, for general application. Why is that is the case? Because the manufacturing is very simple. Okay, they are very because the manufacturing is simple, their costing is less, reliability is more. Okay, and the deflection is proportional linearly to the load. Right. So these are the advantages of the, like, first, manufacturing is easy, costing is low, the load is proportional to. So in case of spiral spring, that is not the case, it is not proportional. But in case of helical spring, the load is proportional to stress, right? So that was about the helical spring. We'll talk little bit about this now. This torsion spring, now this is a torsion spring means what? Now here, the if you see now, the name of the spring is torsional spring, because with the twist of the spring you are energizing, or you are putting energy in it, and when you remove the load, it will try to untwist and it will go back to its original position. But the in the helical spring, the load, like say I have shown you the example in the diagram, a kind of hook or the clip, these kind of springs are used, or in the hinges, this kind of springs are used, right? uh, so like here, the load is not, if you see the name torsion, but the load is not the torsional stress, right? Here what happens, it will try to, you are trying to basically bend it, right? So there will be this the stresses in the case of in the torsional spring will not be torsional stresses, right? But here basically you are trying to apply the torque, this P. If you are applying a load P here, right? So P into distance R is the radius or the center of the coil, right? So that torque you are trying to apply, and so because of that, there will be, what you can say, energy will be stored in the torsion spring, right? But the stresses developed in the spring, now assume it's a long kind of beam. If you are trying to put a load and moment on it, it will have a bending moment, or it will have a bending action, and so there will be shear because of the bending, right? So bending stresses will be developed in the torsional spring. So torsional spring have bending stresses, helical spring have torsional stresses. Are you getting my point? So you just try to understand. Now you have a coil and we are trying to pull the ends. So it basically we are trying to bend the ends, and because of that the energy will be stored, right? So this is a torsion spring. And similarly, we also know that this type of it's called something called as leaf spring. It is used in trucks, right? For heavy loads, if the load is very heavy, that time these springs are not used. That time this kind of leaf spring is used, which takes the load, and when the load is removed, it will go back to its original position. So for heavy loads or suspension, this kind of leaf springs are, these small curved plates are called as leaves. There is also something called a U-bolt. With the U-bolts, they are fixed together, right? And these are the eyes. These two ends are the eyes where the load will, or you will be attaching your load or the vehicle to that. So this is we have a design of leaf spring also as a part of theory. I think we have. So The longest leaf is called master leaf, right? This the top one, which has eye also at the end of it. So like for heavy loads like railway or large trucks, vehicles, these types of springs are used. Okay, so these are important, what you can say. Also there is another type of spring, that is spiral spring. Like as I said, it will be used in toys or watches or applications like that. Okay, so clear now what are different types of springs? You guys are okay with that? Should I go ahead with the where and how we use the springs, right? Okay. So I will proceed. Let me just take quickly attendance. Okay. So now we will see how or where we use it. Like say in the diagram or in the picture, if you can see, there are some applications like a clock, watch or clock, trap for the mouse. You know, there with the spring action, when the mouse comes near with the spring action, it will be caught immediately. And some like the toast maker, there also with the spring action, it will come out the toast. Okay, so how these springs are used in real life? Now, what are different kinds of applications? With the applications, different types of springs are we use that for different purposes, and with the purpose we use the different types of springs. Now, first our application is cushioning, absorbing or controlling the energy. So basically, we are trying to absorb energy, or we are trying to give the cushion effect. Obviously, it is basically your dampers or your suspensions of your vehicle or railway. So all those there where we when your vehicle vibrates or your train vibrates, uh, these springs will absorb the shock, and because of that, the passenger will not feel those whatever bumps you are feeling on the road. Those will not transmitted to the passenger. Your spring will absorb it, and because of that, there will be a cushioning effect for the passenger, right? Like to control energy, spring supports and like said vibration dampers, where basically to control energy, it will try to absorb the energy and it will try to damp the shocks in many applications. Like you are say some machine is there which is having, so in a workshop machine is there which is having lots of vibrations there. The dampers are used for the cushioning or for controlling the energy, right? To control the motion, second application. First we have seen cushioning purpose or absorbing the energy. Control motion, now many places springs are used to control the motions, like maintain contact. Like when we have two elements which are touching to each other, with the spring we will have a force, and those two elements will be in contact with each other because of the spring force. Like cam and cam follower, if you have seen the cam, because of the spring, this they will be always in touch with each other with the movement of the cam and cam follower, right? Another application, like creation of necessary pressure in the friction device, like say in brake or clutch. If you have seen a brake or clutch, when we apply the brake, when we take out our take our leg away, this brake will come back to its original position. We want that because we do not want brake to be in the applied position all the time. We want it only when the force is applied. So when the force is not applied, we want brake or clutch to come back to its original position. So that time, to have the necessary pressure while doing the braking or clutching, we use the springs, right? Like also in the clutch, we have springs. With the spring, those clutch will be having the action, whatever action that they do, right? Another application for controlling the motion is restoring the machine parts with normal position when the applied force is withdrawn, right? Like governor, like if you when it rotates, it will go to some position, and when it's come back to the rotation stops, it will come back to its original position. Or turbine speed control, like so speed control mechanisms use spring. So like this, we are having a application of the spring in controlling the motion, right? So we have seen cushioning, absorbing energy, controlling motion. Measuring forces, another application, we have seen it, like the different gauges, uh, the different gauges, different spring balances, where the weight is used using the springs, right? And last is storing the energy, like as we know in a toys or in a clocks, when we rotate the key, the spring will be it will be winded, and because of that, the energy will be stored. When we take out the key, slowly it will unwind, and because of that, it will give away the energy, right? So to store the energy and give it back once the the force is removed, that is also another purpose of the spring. Right? So these are different applications of the spring, like cushioning, absorbing the energy, controlling the motion, measuring forces, and storing energy. Right? So we will now see what are different kinds of commonly used material. Okay. So what we want from the spring, like, or what are the spring material? So it will depend on the material selection of the spring will depend on what is the load. If it is very heavy, we'll have a different material, so, like less load or toys, spring, in a pen. So depending on the load acting on the spring, different materials are used. We will not be using very fancy material for the pen spring, because we want to reduce the cost. So range of the stress, for which means minimum and maximum stresses, or what type of stress is acting on the spring, that will we will have a material selection depending on that. Limitation of the mass and volume of the spring means how much space is available for the spring. What is the volume of the spring? What is the size of the spring? Or what is the weight of the? We do not want to have too heavy spring, for light application. For expected fatigue life means it will be on off on off on off many times. After a certain time it will fail. So we would like to know what is the expected fatigue life, because if it is a critical application, we do not want to fail it in a fatigue, right? So environmental condition, like temperature, corrosive. If it is a like a place like Mumbai, we would have a different material, where the environment is corrosive, or like in a seawater application, a different material will be used. Severity of deformation while making the spring, will be deforming it. So that time, how different material deforms, that will also determine the type of the or the material selection process, right? So basically, mostly used is patented and cold drawn steel wire. That is one which is mostly used. But there are different types of spring materials are also there. Hard drawn wire, right? This is cold drawn. Cold drawn means without heating it, it will be the coil will be made, and because of that, it will be cheaply available, but it is for the low stresses, right? Oil tempered means this is again a cold drawn wire, means it will not, temperature will not be increased, but it will be having a what you can say, oil for the lubrication purposes, right? So chrome vanadium, this is when the high stress, very high, and the temperature is very high. Application of this temperature is very high. That time, this type of springs are for the shocks and impact. Like when the chromium comes into picture, it is had a good shock and impact resistance, right? Chrome silicon, right? This is for shocking loading, and that if the temperature is high. Music wire, that is another type of material for the spring. This is used for the small springs. Stainless steel and phosphor bronze. So these are different types of materials. So you will choose the material of the spring depending on the application where it is used, right? Okay. So now different types of manufacturings are used. Basically, hot drawn, or it may be a cold drawn, depending on if it is small diameter. Then it is cold drawn. Means cold drawn means it will not increase, temperature will not be increased, and it will be simply turned into coils. But for large springs, it will be difficult. So that time, the by hot, we'll be increasing the temperature of the wire, and then we will be drawing it in the coils, right? So these are the different types of manufacturing process: hot drawn and cold drawn. Okay, so you guys are with me. So I think we have gone through the introductory part of the spring. We have seen what is spring, what are real life applications of the spring, what are different types of spring. We have gone into details of helical and compression springs, like compression and tensile spring, or the compression extension spring. Then torsion spring, leaf spring. Then we have seen the applications, different applications, mainly the cushioning, controlling the motion, measuring forces, and storing energy, different materials of the spring, and the manufacturing processes, right? So now quickly we will try to go through the nomenclature or the terminology, because then we need to understand different lengths, and so that we can start with the design of the spring. Okay, so we have, I think, 5 minutes, so I will try to cover at least the basic part of the nomenclature or the terminology. You guys are with me till now? Okay, so the terminology of the spring. So if you see the now, if you cut a spring, if you take a vertical cross section of the spring, if you can see this, this diagram. So the cross section is the basically wire. Okay, the diameter of the wire is denoted by symbol d, small d. That is the diameter of the wire. It is shown with the cross section here, right? And obviously the coil, because of the coil or the helical shape of the spring, it will have inside and outside diameter, right, of the coil, and the average will be the mean diameter. So mean coil diameter d will be di plus do plus by 2. So d is wire of the diameter, di is inside diameter of the coil, outside diameter of the coil will be do, and d will be the mean coil diameter, right? So these are different diameters of the spring. Now we need to understand important, what you can say, ratio that is called a spring index. Just remember that this is an important ratio. It is denoted by symbol capital C. It is a ratio of d, capital D upon small d. Now what is capital D? Capital D is mean coil diameter. So diameter of the coil. So whatever spring you are having, if you take the diameter of the coil, not the wire, diameter of the coil, mean diameter, that will be capital D, and small d is the diameter of the wire, right? So if you take a ratio of these two, that is called as spring index, and it is very important ratio in case of a spring, right? So what is spring index? Spring index C is equal to d by d, capital D upon small d, diameter of the coil upon diameter of the wire, right? Now why it is important? It is important because we need to have some kind of spring index while doing the design. Generally we use from 4 to 12. Now why we cannot use less than 4 or more than 12? This is the highest ranges, but generally we use from 6 to 9. Okay, so why not less than 4? If it is less than 4 or less than 3, that means speed index is very low. That means what? What is this formula? Capital D upon small d. When C is very small, that means capital D is small compared to small, means only 3 times or 2 times of the small d. That means the curvature of the spring is very sharp. So because of that, manufacturing will be difficult, right time, and it will have a different kinds of stresses, and which is not basically not desirable, right? So this because of the curvature or the sharpness. Are you getting my point? Compared to the diameter of the wire, the curvature of only 2 or 3 times. That means the curvature is very sharp, and there will be lots of stresses, and the manufacturing will be difficult, and that is not desirable. Also, if it is very high, more than 12, that time what happens? D is very high. So now you are looking at a very thin wire, but very large diameter of the coil. So that time what will happen? If you put a load on it, it will buckle. It will try to collapse. It will not sit properly, right? When you put a load, it will not in a vertical position. It will collapse. It will try to buckle. So that buckling is also not desirable. So we want a spring which will remain in the same position and which will not have initial stresses in it. So for that reason, the spring index used is generally between 4 to 12. Are you getting my point? So what is spring index? Spring index is the ratio of mean coil diameter to diameter of the wire, and that is so what we say generally, diameter of the coil should be around 4 times to 12 times of the diameter of the wire. That is the general. So generally we use from 6 to 9. Okay, so this is about the spring index. Okay, and we will be using it many times. All the problems with spring index will be there. Spring index is nothing but ratio of the diameter of the coil upon diameter of the wire. Now, what are different lengths of the springs? Okay, so there are 3 lengths of the spring. If you take a look at the diagram, there will be 3 lengths. One is free length. No load is applied on the spring. That length is called free length. When we apply the load, it will have a deflection of delta. So maximum load which can be applied to a spring, that time the load, the maximum deflection will be delta. So that length, when the load is maximum, so it is maximum allowed deflection is there. That length is called as compressed length. And solid length is means we are applying load to such a level that all coils touch each other. That length is called as solid length. Solid length means there is no gap in between the coils. In compressed length or the maximum allowable load length case, still there will be little gap is required. We do not want coils to touch each other when we have a load on it, right? So that's why we will have a minimum gap between each coils, and that minimum allowable gap, that length is called compressed length. Are you getting my point? So there are three lengths. One is solid length, when the coils are, each and every coil is touching each other, that means it's a solid spring, right? There is a compressed length, that means the maximum allowable load, that time the minimum some gap between each coil is required. And free length is the, basically then there is no load, what is the length of the spring. So these are the three terms which are used, which we need to understand. Now what is free length? If when there is no load, the distance between each consecutive coil is p, that is called as pitch. So that time basically we know that p, then that p into number of coils, we will know basically what is the what you can say length of the coil. Okay, so solid length is basically nt into d, right? So nt is number of, total number of coils, how many coils are there, right? So this is a solid length, right? So basically solid length, why it is we are saying d, solid length is the, this is the case. That time there is no gap. So whatever number of coils multiplied by diameter, that will give you the solid length, right? Now what is compressed length? So now deflection is delta, right? So that time minimum gap of some, say 1 to 2 mm, we will take 1 to 10, each and every coil have minimum gap of 1 to 10. Now we need to understand why we do not allow the coils to touch each other, because when the coils touch each other, there will the load will not be taken by the torsional twisting shear. It will be now direct load will be taken, or the direct tensile or compressive load will be there on the spring. I think we are almost close to the lecture. So next time I will continue with these three lanes, and we will talk about the ends, and then we will start with the design. Okay, there is one small topic is remaining, different styles of ends of the spring, and we will also talk about the lengths of the spring in the next lecture. Okay. So in the next lecture we will start with this, and then we will go ahead with the design of the spring. Okay. Anybody has any doubt, you can put in a chat. I will try to answer that. Okay, no doubt. So that's fine. So next time we'll continue with the